survey don't say Allen, CCRPI Allen Gray. The survey is for the whole school. Now, if you really feel that way, that's okay. But if you're on there and you upset and you just clicking because you want to get vengeance, just pick the mirror up and look at yourself. But that's who you're clicking against. So you see parents feel better about it than we do. And of course, here's our students. All of this information goes into your star ratings, okay? All of this information that we put up here goes into your star ratings. Okay, so we were a 3-star, so middle and high, 77.3 to 83.3 gives you 3 stars. We're at 79.3. There's been time in the past, last year we were a 2-star, but prior to that, we were missing 4 stars maybe by 1 point, 1 or 2 points, okay? Now, another thing, go back, Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin's doing a good job, isn't he? There, he is on it. Now, another thing that we look at, your weighted suspension rates, which that's something that goes through the discipline office, which we're doing a better job of this. And then, as far as your discipline, what's your violent, safe and substance-free learning environment, and that comes from Infinite Campus for what you input with your discipline referrals. So that's where that comes from. And then, of course, our school-wide attendance, and as you can see, our student attendance, but this has changed too, and we'll go over that as well. But that's where all you get your scores, and then they do a little calculation, and then you come up with your climate. All right? So that's the old one. Okay. All right, this is the redesign. Okay? You still have your content mastery, all right, which English, math, science, and social studies. And with the redesign, most of these next 4 areas are all based on test scores, okay? Then you got your progress, and this is the progress right here. So this is where you get your progress from. It's English language arts growth and mathematics growth. That's the 2 categories that progress comes from. And then closing the gap, and then meeting the achievement improvement targets, which I'm gonna show you the targets. All right. All right, on your targets. Okay, this is where your closing the gap comes in, and this is where you can earn some extra points. But the goal is 3% increase. And like I said, the 2017 is where you get your baseline from, this CCRPI report that just came out. So you see, here are the categories, okay, all, Black, economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, and then our white students, okay? So you look at your 3% increase. So you look at ELA, and then here's the 3% target for this year on next year, on the CCRPI. So that's our target right there. All right, now, to get extra points in closing the gap, if in your subgroups, if you do 6% increase, then you get extra points. So in ELA, if it's 50, that's the baseline, 53. 3% is 54.4. Now, if economically disadvantaged goes to 55.9, and our students with disabilities go from 6.6, 9.4, and if they go to 12.2, that's 6%, so you get extra points right here. right here is where that's your target. So that's your 3%. And then here, these are our two subgroups. So if we get here and here in ELA, you get your points here, and then you get extra points there for your subgroups. Any questions? So this is the why right here. This is what we're held accountable for. All right, in math, our baseline was 38.5. Okay, the target is 40.4. If you look at your economic disadvantage, it's 42.2. And then students with disabilities, 13.2. But this is where you're coming up from. So 7.2, then your 3% is 10, your 6% is 13. So that's your targets in math. Now, what they've done, like for example, in English you have 9th grade lit and then American lit, right? So what they've done, they combined those two scores, and that's where that came from. Just like in math, they combined Algebra 1 and geometry. In science, physical science and biology, and then in social studies, econ, and US history. Now, in the CCRPI report, you'll still get separate points for them like the old one, but when you're talking about targets, they combine those percentages. Make sense? Okay. So here's math, here's science. That's your baseline, that's your 3% target. Economic disadvantage, that's your baseline, that's your 3% target, and then that's your 6%. Students with disability, baseline, 3%, 6%. If you notice here, all, like I said, all is our, if you can see here, our all and our economic disadvantage are the same numbers. So that's talking about, if you bring this up 3%, that mean everybody's come up 3%. So those are our two subgroups. Science, the same thing. Here's your baseline. No, I'm sorry, here's your baseline. I did science. Social studies. Here's your baseline here, 45.3. That's your 3%. Economically disadvantaged. That's your 3%. And then that's your 6%. So you can see this target and this target are the same in your economically disadvantaged. Students with disabilities, it's 4.7, 3% is 7.6, and then extra points is 10.4. Go ahead. You got a question, Ms. Brooke?
The math just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the math doesn't make sense.
We're sitting here thinking, they're saying 3% of 6, and then 12 is twice 6%.
I know. That's just what they sent me.
Okay, well, somebody needs to do some math.
Yeah, that's what they sent me.
The colors look good though.
Yeah, do yeah. This is what they sent me. So what would it be? Is it higher or lower?
That's way higher than
Which one? Which one we looking at?
SWD English.
All right, SWD English.
To go from 6.667 to 12.26, that's almost 6%. That's more than 6%.
It is double. Yeah, I mean, that's almost 50%. So if we shoot for that, then we know we got it, right? So maybe that's what they were doing, trying to give us something to shoot for. All right, graduation rate. Same thing based on a 2017 CCRPI was 87.9 for our 4-year. So you go to 88.2. Now our 5-year rate was a 92. So if you're 90 or above, all you do is maintain above 90. All right. So anytime you're above 90 in your target, you just have to maintain 90 or above. Okay, here are black students, same 90 point, and then we just got to maintain 90 or above to meet that target. 5-year rate, you just got to maintain 90 or above to meet that target. Students with economically disadvantaged, those two numbers are the same. Those two numbers are the same. Those two numbers are the same because that's everybody. Okay. Students with disabilities, as far as graduation, here's the 4-year, there's the target, there's the 5-year, and there's the target. And that's each year. So whatever our, if say we get that, then the next year that'll be our baseline, and then that'll increase from there. So every year it increases. And here are white students, 82, 82, and then 90. They just have to maintain 90 in the 5-year graduation rate, and then come up a little bit in the 4-year rate. Okay? Any questions on our targets? And this is the why. This is why we have to do what we're doing. All right, then I'm gonna put them side by side. All right, here are the key changes on the redesign as opposed to the old one. It's supposed to be streamlined and simplified. 5 components. Graduation rate is high school only. It doesn't count like it did before with the middle school and the elementary school. They're on a 100-point scale. And in the high school, we went from 30 indicators to 15. And then I told you about the progress. You can earn the extra points for progress, and then extra points for closing the gap. Ours is economic disadvantage and students with disabilities. If they meet the 6% improvement targets, whatever they are, then we get some points. So you get you earn extra points for progress and then for closing the gap. That's your 3% and your 6%. It talked about preserving local flexibility. That means that these changes were done, I guess, when they have different people meet and they present it up to the federal Department of Education, and then it gets approved. And then beyond the core, that's for middle and elementary. And then student attendance has changed. It's 10% of enrollment days, where it was 10 years ago, and then it changed to 6. Now it's 10% of enrollment days. So we get credit for students that's absent less than 10% of the days they're enrolled. So we get credit that way. So that's gonna help. And we're tracking attendance this year. We didn't do attendance recovery or attendance appeal because we're tracking it as we go all year. And what we're doing, if they get 3 unexcused absences, we notify the parent. They get 6, we put them on engagement, and they get 9. So we're doing these conferences as far as tracking attendance in a minute. Don't worry, Mr. Mark, I'm looking around, you about to get a replacement. All right, so attendance, and we talked about the targets, and we talked about closing the gap, and then student growth and improvement, and then it's just a new reporting system. And that's in effect this year. That's happening, all the things that we're doing, it's in effect for this year. So if we put them side by side, then you can kind of see the differences. All right, how the weights are different in the content mastery, how the number of indicators have changed. All right, and then your targets, and then we still have flags, but they're a little bit different. And I'll send this to you so y'all can dive into it a little bit more. All right, go ahead, some more, Mr. Mark. And then your progress, we talked about progress, And again, we do not have the English language learners. We just have the economically disadvantaged and the students with disability. All right. Then achieving the gap and closing the gap. It used to be all of this. Now it's just this, and it's towards meeting those targets that we talked about. Then your post readiness for high school. And I'll show you the Lexiles, because even the Lexile bands have changed. They're a lot, it's clear, it gives you a number. I think I have that, and I'll show you that right quick. But it's based on the Lexile bands, absentee. They still give us credit for pathway completers and accelerated enrollment and college and career readiness. And what that means is combining college readiness, end of pathway assessments, and work-based learning. And then, of course, the graduation rate, the 4 and 5 year adjusted cohort, and then the challenge points, basically is we get them based on the 6% when I talked about as far as our subgroups. So you can earn 1.5 points in closing gap and 6% improvement targets are met. So you get 1.5. Those are the extra points I was talking about. All right, and here's challenge points. And as you can see, all of this stuff has disappeared. And then again, your extra points, and then your star rating and your climate rating. So that's the why. That's what we're being. When CCRPI comes out, those are the things. Those were the changes that's happening in our CCRPI. All right, let me see if I can find. Okay, here's just some quick frequently asked questions. And like I said, it's implemented for the 16-17 school year. Here's the Lexile. For the literacy Lexile indicators, all students measure the same midpoint or their grade level scores. All right. So you have a stretch band and you have grade level scores. And here are where we try to get our students. 1155 and American Lit 1285. So there are our Lexiles. There are our Lexiles right there. That's what we try to. That's what we try to do.
That's the Lexile. The Lexile score they're talking about is the one that they calculate on the test itself.
That's correct. That's correct. Not the RI. It's the one on the CCRPI. And normally, when we do the RI, that's a good preparation for the CCRPI, because the RI is a little more, I guess, rigorous than the CCRPI Lexile. That is the one on the test. And we talked about the subgroups. We talked about for us which subgroups, and then this is how attendance will be calculated. Again, it's 10% on enrollment days, or days absent plus days present. Okay? Go ahead, Mr. Okay, we all know it's lagging data, and I don't think the rest, how will 8th grade students take classes, high school figured into the calculation. We got some 8th grade students taking high school courses, and this is how it would be figured into the calculation. So we have, right now, we have science and math. one time they was talking